Hello, I'm Pearl Howie, and this is Pearl Escape's Guide to Healing. So, you might be able to hear it's very, very windy today, a little bit of rain, which is why I'm doing this indoors again. It is January after all. But today I wanted to slow down a little bit and I wanted us to pause and think about listening to your heart and listening to your body. So I know in the world of healing and speaking and everything else, there are thousands of people out there, tens of thousands, maybe millions of people who will be telling you what to do and telling you how to heal. And it's both sometimes helpful and sometimes really annoying and really frustrating when we're struggling with things and we look out for people to help us, people who you might call teachers. And sometimes even those teachers, as great as they are, don't have the right answers for us because they're not us. And our path, our way can be different to anybody else's. And it can change every day. And one phrase that I used a lot when years and years ago, when I first started Pearl Escapes and I first started teaching Zumba, was a very simple phrase, which is seek your bliss. And when we bring things sometimes to the very smallest detail and the next step, and I always say my job is just helping people to find their next step. That's all, because you can only take one step at a time. And when we think like that, it becomes simpler because then what we're doing is we're listening and looking for one step at a time. And so I saw some friends last week, which was lovely. And I said to them, I'm really feeling that I need to be listening more to my heart, to my instinct, to my inner wisdom. And they said to me, but Pearl, you've done this. Like, you've done this so much. And they were right, because when I went off traveling around the world, I was really focusing on my heart. Where is my heart calling me? What is it that is pulling me? And sometimes it was really strange, like going on the Camino de Santiago. But all the time as I was traveling around, I was always checking in with my heart. I was always stopping and trying to think about, not necessarily to think with my head, like who is the best teacher, where is everyone else going, what's going on, but really just to get quiet and listen to my own heart, even if sometimes it drove me mad, because sometimes where my heart was calling me felt like a completely opposite direction to where I knew I ultimately wanted to go. So there were all these dreams that I had, and for some reason my heart was saying, but first you have to go off and do this Camino de Santiago, do this hiking thing, this backpacking thing. And I was like, I don't want to go backpacking. I don't want to go to Spain. I don't want to do this. But there was a feeling that this is something that I really, really had to do. And so we're in January, and I know that there's so much stuff about, getting fit, getting healthy, getting your diet right, doing all these things. And I hear it too. And sometimes I hear also the things that I learned last year, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And I have to stop and say, okay, but what's right for me today? Where is my heart calling me today? And that can be very challenging. And it's really easy to listen to other people and to follow other people's paths. And the reason that it's easy to just do what other people are doing, be a sheep, is because when we follow our own heart, what we're really doing is we're following a path to our own authentic success. And I've talked so much about this. I've got a whole program on fear of success and on the practical trainings and the authentic success your way, 7 hours of that. So sometimes when I come back to the beginning and the basics of it, which is just listening to your heart, it feels kind of strange. It feels like a different perspective. And I think that's the same for all of us, because sometimes we've got all these plates we're spinning, all these things we're trying to do. Perhaps we have our own business and we've got all these things, all the admin, like doing the VAT return or doing the sales, or, and putting together a sales package that says, oh, I know what I'm doing, and da 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 da, all this. And we can lose sight of not just why we're doing it in the first place, but how it really feels when we're doing the very heart of it. And as a Zumba instructor, I felt like that all the time, all the time, even when I was actually teaching and the music was going and all the people were in the room and it was going great and it was exactly what I wanted and had dreamed of. My mind would be elsewhere. My mind would be thinking, ooh, somebody else has asked me to do a class. Ooh, I can't do that at the same time. Ooh, am I going to have to hire somebody? Ooh, am I going to be a bad manager? Ooh, what can I do? Ooh, how am I going to sort out the finances? And I would catch myself. And one of the best things about Zumba is when you do that, you make mistakes. So you're teaching and your mind goes elsewhere and you trip over your own feet or you get the steps wrong. And it's a really great reminder to bring your attention, to bring your mind to the moment, to the room, to the floor, to the people, to the connection that you're making with people. It's so easy to get distracted by the million and one other things in life. But what I wanted to do, talking with you today, is really talk about why do we do that? Why are we so afraid to follow our hearts? Why are we so afraid to be in the moment and to really feel, to really experience that success? Even, we can have that success right in front of us and we're still afraid to feel it. We're still afraid to open our hearts and be present, what you could even call mindful in that moment. Why? And I know the answer. And when I went off traveling around the world, what was great is I heard that answer from so many people, from great gurus and teachers and shaman. And they all said the same thing, which is that we are more afraid of life than we are of death. We're more afraid of feeling alive than we are of being distracted and spending an hour doing a VAT return. As much as we grumble about it, as much as we say, oh, I hate this or I don't like that, it's safe and it's easy to do our shopping, to be distracted, to let our mind be distracted, rather than being in that beautiful bliss, that blissful moment of feeling alive, of authentic success. And there are many reasons for that. And one of them is purely that we are afraid of feeling our feelings. Because when we feel all of our feelings, when we feel alive, I know it's going to sound kind of sappy, but it's like a rainbow of colors. It's all of the colors of the rainbow. It's everything. It's the positive emotions and the negative emotions. When we feel truly alive, we're opening up to joy, but also to sadness and to grief. And I felt that and I saw that so many times when I was teaching Zumba, because of music, some piece of music would come on and it would be electric, but there would be people in the class that would start to cry because it was awakening their grief, the feelings that they've been afraid to feel. And so often we protect ourselves from things that remind us of people we love. And following on from COVID and from lockdown, where we have so many things that we need to heal, we close ourselves off to experiences, to feelings that will awaken grief, or things like PTSD, or imposter syndrome, which I talk about, or survivor guilt. Why do I get to live this incredible, beautiful life when other people don't? And sometimes it's all mixed up and we don't even know what we're feeling. But when we are really courageous and we take those steps one step at a time in the direction of our dreams, I always say, as Henry David Thoreau said, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. When we do that, we can't hide. It's like an incredible sunrise when we go out and all the light is there and we see the truth. And when we see the truth, it's not always pretty. It's not always rosy. It's not always easy. But if we're not seeing the truth, what we're really doing is we're hiding away. And there are times for that as well. I would say don't give yourself too hard a time if you're watching this and you're feeling, yes, I kind of get it. Yes, I kind of want to do it. But there's also something holding you back. Because you have to remember as well that grief is a process. PTSD happens in stages. We heal in stages. Please don't expect yourself to heal like that. I think that's one of the other things about healing. You know, we see all these people and it's all about quick fixes, isn't it? You know, if you eat this or you do this, or you do it, and everything's going to happen like that. And it reminds me of, gosh, I can't remember. It's a really famous film or book. And they're talking about falling in love. And they say it happens slowly and then all at once. And I think that's the truth about healing as well. It happens slowly and then all at once. And sometimes it feels like when we're going through healing, it's like fitness, it is, you know, and you're going to the gym and you're plodding along and you see little changes, you know, maybe you see like, oh, there's a little bit, you know, this is good. But sometimes it feels like we're just going and we're going and we're going. And then one day we wake up and we look down and we go, wow, oh, I look great. My legs look great. You know, I feel fantastic. But sometimes it just feels like we're plodding for such a long time. So it feels like, or doing things like business, you know, where we're doing marketing and we're putting things out there, and it feels like that success is never going to come. Or working on a book, oh, for goodness sake, that is one of the big things. I mean, I love writing, you know I do. But sometimes, you know, when I'm working on a book, it feels like I'm never going to finish it. Because sometimes I'm working on a book and there's a part of it, you know, that just won't come, that just won't crystallize, that I just can't understand, that I just can't get clear. And I'm working on a book like that at the moment, and it's been frustrating me for months and months. And I keep thinking about how I'm doing it and if it's going to be different to anything I've done before. And it's just not there yet. It's not ready yet. And that's okay, because, you know, sometimes we can do ourselves a lot of harm by rushing, you know, by trying to do things before we're ready. When I was doing my physical rehab after giving my brother a kidney, which was 24 years ago, it's a long time. But what I would do is what I do in my life sometimes. I threw myself at it. You know, I would go to the gym, I would throw myself into doing sit-ups, which I should not have been doing at all. But, you know, I wanted to get my fitness back. I wanted to get my health back. I wanted to get my body back. And so I threw myself into it, and I was doing so much work, and I would be okay. And then I would come away, and then the next day, everything would hurt so bad, and all my muscles would go into spasm. I remember particularly my abdominal muscles would go into spasm, and I would be like crying from the pain. And this is post, you know, quite a while after the surgery. And I would have to keep reminding myself, and I should do it, you know, I still do it. It's part of my nature, I think, to try and take it one step at a time, because I was always doing 2 steps and then going 3 steps back. So I think, you know, when we're following our hearts, we also have to have compassion for ourselves. You know, we think, yes, I really want to do this, but think about what is one step, not 2 steps. What is one step forward? Because if you take one step forward, that's fantastic. That is brilliant. When you take 2 steps, and I don't mean like literally 2 steps. I mean, when you take, say, double the amount that is right for you, we often go 3 steps back. So we have to remember to be patient with ourselves and be patient with other people as well. Sometimes we can see the way forward and other people can't really see it. So we're like, come on. And we have to remember that everybody has their own timing. Everybody has their own pace. And we have to have not just compassion, what's the word? Give each other grace when it comes to healing. And it's really frustrating sometimes because sometimes we're so motivated, particularly in January. We want to get things done. We want to change our diet. We want to do all the exercise. We want to change our business. We want to change our life. And other people are not where we are and not going the speed that we are. So when I did my Camino de Santiago, I did it alone. I went off on my own so that I could go at my own pace because no one else was really wanting to go with me. And it was that kind of journey. But I also had to learn, even if I was on my own, and even if I was, deciding, oh, today I'm going to go on a bus, today I'm going to go on a train. Some days there was no bus. Some days there was no train. And I had to learn to be patient in a way that I wasn't when I lived in London, when everything was kind of always going, always going. And part of my healing was to go to places where things were slower and where I had to relax my pace and just learn to not just take one step at a time, but to take it in tune, in tune with my inner wisdom as well, to listen to the timing as well as the action. And as a dancer and as a Zumba instructor, you would think that I would know more about timing and speed and pace and all those things. And I do when I'm in a class. I do when I'm doing those kind of things. But sometimes we forget that we need to get into a pace and a groove with other people, that it doesn't have to always be very, very fast. It doesn't have to be always very slow, but it's about finding the right timing with each and every partnership or group of people that we have in our lives, whether it's a partner, a parent, a child. And I was just thinking of when you have a toddler and when they're learning to get dressed and you have to sit there with them while they put their socks on. And it can be so slow, but you have to have that patience. Otherwise, they're never going to be able to get dressed for themselves if you don't give them that grace in the timing. And we need to give that grace to everyone, and especially to ourselves with our timing of our healing. Take care. See you soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.